there's still a lot of, I'll just say wrangling with many different entities and partners, and to get something like that approved. And I want to be clear, sort of like in my email, this doesn't make up, but I know there's probably some questions coming about this, but it doesn't make up for what we understand are pay issues that we've been addressing since I got here. And we had some earlier successes, especially on the first year, and then we made another adjustment with some money we had. And so we continue to look at that. So to be clear, it doesn't fix any of that. But this was a fight that to at least give a one-time incentive retention bonus. And a lot of people behind the scenes were helping make that happen. And so I got a lot of nice comments back from staff sent me. There were a couple people that missed the particular time frames who I heard from them too. So I'm like, hey, I'm sorry. I had to pick a particular date, right? We had a particular date. So, but I was glad what we could do in that limited scope. And so that was a good thing.
Well, thank you for that. We are truly grateful. Let's talk about the retention bonus for a second. How did you guys come up with the amounts that you gave everyone?
So, Rick, if you want to jump in, you can. But we really struggled with, we had several different themes of the plan, right? And we kind of settled on what I believe was sort of the middle of the road, that it recognized. So we had a certain amount of money to work with, right? Like about $4 million or so. And in that scope, we developed sort of several different plans. One that gave sort of less recognition for seniority, one that gave more recognition for seniority in terms of how much you got as far as the bonus, incentive bonus. Retention bonus rather. But we really picked the middle of the road. And that's kind of where we landed. I mean, we talked about it a lot. We discussed the pros and cons of each one. Somebody else may have picked a different model, to be totally clear. But I figured this is the one that honored those who had been in service for the department longer, and yet still recognized sort of the newer staff that were coming in too. Anything else, Rick, do you want to add on that?
Yeah, well, thank you. We tried to model it after the actual accrual rates that for annual leave. And so that's what the model was based on. What accruals were for annual leave based on seniority. So in a sense, that's how we came up with it pretty simply.
So just to be clear, wardens, majors, directors, did they receive more?
No, this did not look at classification, or it looked solely at tenure, and it looked solely at accrual rates. We didn't base any of this on if someone was a major or a warden that they would get more. Everybody got the same.
So how is it fair that someone that's been here 2 months gets the same thing as someone that's been here, say, 3 to 5 years?
Well, I'm not the arbitrator of what is fair and what is not fair. I'm working with variations of what is more fair here. So depending upon where you sit within the department and years of service, et cetera, you're going to say, well, that's less fair to me or more fair to me, depending upon kind of where you sit. So the other thing is if I'd have broken it down by, like, let's say go by every year, right? It'd have been very complicated to implement it, and it would have been, so we are looking at something we could implement that was already established, as Rick said, sort of based upon leave accruals. So I understand that if you're an employee that has 4 years of service in, and you're getting the same much as somebody who has 4 months, you might think that's not fair based upon where you're at. I would just say, to try to understand that we're doing what we generally think is fair based upon just overall service. So, and we could have made it more finely tuned in terms of years and months and all those things, but it would cost a sort of a nightmare, quite frankly, in terms of implementation. And I didn't want to put on additional burden as it was. So I understand if you're a 4-year employee and you have a 4-month employee and you're both getting the same thing, you're saying, hey, that's not fair. The only thing I would ask you to consider is that somewhere along the line, somebody has to draw a line, and we did it in a way that made implementation not a complete nightmare. And so anyhow, that's what we decided and why we decided that way.
Well, I think something that we can all agree is how grateful we are to you and your team for getting that done for us. We really appreciate
Well,
that.
no, I appreciate that. And, you know, this doesn't mean we've done something and we don't want to do more. Of course we want to do more. I mean, we're very keenly aware of what the vacancies issue are right now. I'm very keenly aware of lower applicants. You know, we're having certain pockets of success in little areas, but overall, I know what we're up against, and I just want to assure everybody that I have and will continue to do everything I can, as well as everybody else in the executive team, in terms of raising that issue. And I don't want to get any more specific than that, but I'm just asking you to trust me on this one. On this one, I have gone to the wall, if you will, around my concern around staff retention and staff vacancy rates and the lower amount of applicants that we're getting in. And that's all I can say about it. But know that I have done and will continue to do everything I can on this issue, because it is the primary issue for me and us, for the entire executive team we have on here. It's the primary issue. It's the number one issue. Know that we've been pushing on it for a while, and I'll continue to push on it.
Let's turn the page a little bit, especially on COVID. COVID restrictions seem to be lifting up a little bit. Is there an expected date for weekly testing to stop?
Well, I'll have, again, anybody else wants to jump in, Dr. Mall, Michelle, Rick. I'll start off by saying this. We've been discussing this weekly, maybe sometimes more than once a week, around how we should start to draw down some of our testing requirements without losing the capacity to ramp them back up. So let me say this one more time. I don't want to test any more than what we need to test, but I also want to maintain the capacity for testing, and I want to be able to be very nimble. So you're likely going to get something coming up relatively soon about us reducing testing on certain fronts, right? And if we have so in places where we have no outbreaks, for example, I'm going to let Dr. Mall fine tune the plan, but we've all been talking about, maybe we don't need to test at that facility because we really have no cases at all. We haven't had any cases for a few weeks. But we may do it over here because we have 1 or 2 outbreaks, we have 1 or 2 cases. So I'll tell you that it's the same way we dropped sort of the mask mandate just recently. I just going to tell you, I'm going to be really nimble on this. And oh, by the way, the news that I've gotten just recently from CWHE and others is that we may in fact have a little bit of a rise here in April with another variant that's coming through. And so we may have a small little uptick, not like we've had before. So we may want to continue testing. I'm going to let smarter people than me make that final determination. So we may want to keep it going on because, quite frankly, we've had, and I'll give you one. I'll use me as an example. I'm still getting over 3 weeks ago, I had a really bad case of the flu. I mean, I thought it was COVID, right? And I was grateful. I PCR tested 2 times that week, because I was like, sure, I must have COVID. And fortunately, I didn't. That's the good news. But I had a really bad flu. Well, it was really important for me to know in regards to my family and everybody else whether or not, because the flu was still bad enough. And but it really benefited me to be able to go to our work location, right? My work location headquarters, and get a PCR test and go back, like, and the tests are coming back very fast, by the way. So I want to make that available. I don't want to stand it down because I want our employees to say, gee, I don't feel good. Maybe it's COVID, maybe it's not, maybe it's the cold, or maybe it's the flu, because it sure felt like COVID. I mean, and why I'm a little bit coffee now is that it's still over 2 weeks later, but I mean, it was so convenient to do that. So we may move from sort of a mandatory to optional for some places, a mandatory some locations, not others. That's the plan. That's it. But here's the bottom line. I want us to be nimble, right? So if I say 1 week or a month goes by, I'm not going to require it, but now I'm going to require it. It's not that I'm trying to switch up on you. It's just that maybe we saw something or we have an uptake of certain cases. So I don't want people being frenetic or freaked out. I just want to be able to do all the testing, all the mass decisions based upon what current information is. And so if we change gears on this, please don't be surprised. Just know that that's the wise thing to do versus just setting a standard and like, hey, we're just going to do that for months, no matter what. I don't think that makes sense. And I don't want to drag us through that if we don't need to. But if we do need to, we're going to make that decision too. I hope that is understandable for everybody.
Will the current modified dress code be a long-term change?
I haven't had I haven't had a discussion with all the executive team on this, so I don't want to get ahead of everybody on it. But I'm inclined to do what I can to make things comfortable and more easy for our staff. In fact, I'll commit to you, I'll bring it up to the exec team meeting today, but I'm inclined to move that way because first of all, I don't think we've lost anything as a result of it. And I mean, people who are in public facing positions who move to public, I expect, but in terms of the staff working in facilities and others, I'm inclined to keep it, but I'll discuss today with the executive team. It's a good question.
When will headquarters fully reopen?
Well, we've had a plan on reopening in like several weeks ago, and we decided to hold back on it. Again, I've held off because, quite frankly, of the surge that pardon me, that we just had, and now that we're back down to sort of lower numbers, I think I'm inclined to start opening up. The executive team is going to start meeting next week, and I'll let the division director sort of figure out how they want to move people in. But my prediction on a Monday today is that it will be within the next few weeks.
What does this mean for potlucks, employee council, food sales, and large gatherings?
Well, I'm ready to remove all restrictions. I mean, we've kind of moved that way, and one of the things that makes it easier to continue to hold those events if we kind of keep some of the routine of testing up, right? I mean, that helps us. So that's the balance I'm asking Dr. Moll and others to make too, is that I want to have all those things back again. I mean, I want them all back again too. And if we continue some of the testing or periodically, then it just makes it safer, because that way someone's not accidentally coming on and, getting the rest of us sick. And even though I hope everybody's, unless you have a medical exemption or a religious one, at least we're all vaccinated. So I think the more serious threat of serious injury, illness has been certainly reduced as a result of having the vaccine. I still want to be mindful. So I want those events back, and I anticipate them being back this summer.
What about facilities? Do they still need to do temperature checks when they enter a facility? Will that be dropping as well?
I might pass this over to Matt um, or Travis or Andre to cover that. Any of those things or any of their thinking on that.
For now, what we have in place is what we need to maintain.
Thank you, Mr.
I mean,
Hanson.
we're constantly looking, and hopefully everybody can hear me. I'm not able to get to a computer, but we're constantly looking at how we're adapting and evolving our strategies in face of what we're seeing out in the community. So we did decide for now that the temperature screening was still important, just as, at least for the next couple of weeks, the PCR testing is important. But as all of you know, we did scale back Binex testing, and those are the things that I'm talking about. We're trying to be very agile to keep everyone safe and to fit in with the threats that we're seeing out in the community.
Thank you. Andre, is there anything that you wanted to include on that, or?
No, Matt kind of covered it well. Thank you.
All right. Speaking of Mr. Stansel, there have been a lot of changes at headquarters level. How can we be better and more consistently communicate leadership changes in our executive staff? Welcome, by the way, Mr.
No, well, I meant to make an announcement about it. I hope somebody actually read my email where I actually announced this some time ago, just recently. I mean, part of maybe people don't get to their emails or have a hard time getting their emails. And I mean, for us, we look at our emails all the time, but that's not everyone's job. And thank goodness it's not, by the way. No, the big change amongst the executive team is that, as you know, Travis is retiring over the next couple months, and he, to his credit, really asked for a long sort of period of time. We went on a national search for the deputy because I think that's my responsibility. Was very fortunate that Andre put his name in a hat, and Andre was clearly the best candidate, and so we're so pleased that he has said yes and has moved into that spot. It gives us time, an overlap of a couple months, almost. We've actually been going on for a little bit, but an overlap of more than really a couple months for Travis to sort of like help with the transition. So I announced those big moves under email. I'm talking about it now, but I'm hoping that wardens and others too, if you're listening, will pass that stuff on too, and it becomes available too. So the best I can do is to try to get it out on email, and for the executive team to talk to their staff about it too. And I just want to be clear about one thing, and like, you know, the best, and I've said this before, and I mean, we have, as the executive team, we all have our faults. We're far from perfect individuals, but what I have loved about the executive team, because I think, quite frankly, to lead anything, you have to be, you have to have a functional executive team if you're expecting other people in other positions to be functional too and have healthy relationships and everything else. And having healthy relationships doesn't mean we agree. A lot of times we disagree. But that's good for me as the director, but hopefully it's good for everybody else on the executive team, that we kind of push around on each other, and having Andre now, move into this role is right in alignment with the kind of leadership we want to have and our belief in servant leadership, right? At the cornerstone, I think, and again, I'm far from perfect on this, and I don't think anybody is claiming they are, but we believe in servant leadership. We believe our leadership is based upon helping others lead well and being a service in their leadership. There are certain decisions and there are certain roles I have where that call I know is upon me, but undergirding all that is our belief that our staff and how they're all leading, and can we help them lead whatever particular section or unit they're leading is really a main focus of our job. So Andre is and will be a great contribution to that, because we all know that the most valuable resource we have are the people who work in this department above everything else, above all the, all the facilities, all the stuff. It's the people who are working in this department that matter the most.
Let's talk about leadership for a minute. There's been some discussions at the facility level. They're wondering if you've had any discussions on having skip level meetings where directors and wardens go meet with frontline staff.
I think it's very fair. I think one of the things we've lost during the pandemic, to be quite frank, is our ability to sort of get with all of you. And I know the wardens are there, but we've lost some of the, and I've been traveling more, and I've been, to Rifle, to Delta. I was at Buena Vista last week, and meeting with staff and seeing some of the stuff going on. So, and there's no substitute really for meeting sort of the executive team going out. So I know we're doing that more, and I think we have Employee Appreciation Week coming up, by the way, and I'm hoping that the next, I think it's in May, first week of May, that we hope to be out and about and meeting others. So if you felt like you haven't seen the executive team in the last couple of years as much, you're probably right. I mean, to be honest, part of that, of course, has been the pandemic and not one of us, exacerbating or complicating by walking around facilities and bringing in a cold or doing, or something else. But just know that we know that that our efforts are to get out in the field more.
Let's talk about dynamic security. What exactly is dynamic security? Sterling has staff documenting what they're doing related to dynamic security with offenders, but when are we going to be trained on it?
Well, some of the training is going on right now. And the good news is the academy is trained. If there's anything we're probably a little bit behind on, is making sure the other staff understand why it is we're doing it. So let me give you the real quick once over. There are really a strong philosophical belief that I have, it's not my idea, it's many other states and many other countries around the world really believe that security in prison is based upon sort of three principles, right? Structural security, that means the fences, the walls, everything else that keeps people in our custody, in custody. Organizational security, which is the schedule of how things come and go, what time people get up, what time they go to bed, when they eat, all those things, right? That helps organize security too, knowing what a schedule is and not just things have to be random. And the last, and it's one that I think in the American correctional system we have kind of failed at in some ways, and that is dynamic security, which simply means since we're in the presence of the people who are in our custody a lot, I mean, think especially if you're a staff that you work in a facility, think about all the time you're at the facility and who you're interacting with. I mean, not just your other fellow coworkers, but all the people in our custody, right? So dynamic security is really the strategy around using the fact that we see these people in our custody and they see us a lot, and using that opportunity to develop appropriate and working sort of relationships, right? There's a different power structure. We're the staff, they're the people in our custody, so there'll always be that difference in power structure. But the reality is that safety and security breaks out and is enhanced by us knowing the inmates and the inmates knowing us in a professional capacity. And so that's really the effort, is really using relationships. I mean, we all get to know each other and work each other and things go better like when we kind of know each other. And I see my executive team, I know a little bit about my executive team, I kind of know little bit about their families and they kind of know where they're at. I mean, and so if we ever have a problem, we have a baseline and we have a mutual interest regard for each other. So the same concept occurs when people are in our custody, because we get to know them and they get to know us and see us as human beings and we see them as human beings. We have a sort of a mutual regard breaks out. It happens sort of naturally. And guess what? That makes things safer for us as well as them, right? And where that's not practiced at all, by the way, go look at some of the prisons and some of the problems where prisons have really put the screws on some of the inmate population. It becomes a very dangerous environment. Staff get hurt more, inmates get hurt more, the recidivism rate's higher. So there's a lot of research and work on this, and we're not the only state doing it, by the way. There's all kinds of other states doing it too, North Dakota, Connecticut, Oregon, etc. And so that's it in a nutshell. And I know in certain different facilities, they're documenting a little bit differently. They're training on some of it. They have some staff doing it or more staff doing it in some facilities. And so I've really left it up to prison operations to decide how they want to do it and how they want to roll it out. And the other thing that's hurt us is really some of the issues around the pandemic we're getting over. And Matt, go ahead, please jump in.
Yeah, and I do want to point out that we have online training related to dynamic security as well as in the training academy, and there were several roll call trainings that were rolled out probably a good year and a half ago now. So this is telling me perhaps we need to have those roll call trainings repeated a little more often.
Thank you. Do monthly case management office appointments fulfill the vision and spirit of dynamic security?
Well, I'll ask anybody else to jump in on this as well, Travis or Andre. Anytime that we are getting to know the people in our custody and them getting to know at least us on a, like I said, on the professional level, it is enhanced in that way. I think it's a lot more than that, though, with people who are case managers. I mean, so that would be a case. That would be an example of it, sort of the case manager relationship, right, with an inmate. So yes, of course, that's an example of it, but I just don't want it at that level. What I want is I want staff, officers, and others to practice it, right? And to use simple conversations. And really, honestly, at the end of the day, it doesn't have to be some big, huge, in-depth conversation. I just want interaction. And by the way, I know that this is made more difficult by the fact that when you're down staffing, you have less opportunity to sort of chat up the people who are in our custody, right? And get to know them. So that's one of the other reasons why I'm very concerned about staffing, is because it doesn't give those opportunities as much to grow. So it's not anything very complicated, but it is intentional and purposeful that we get to know the people who are in our custody. Because again, the bottom line is the biggest thing we get out of it is improved security and safety overall.
Thank you. I know you have Ms. Warren on today's call as well. Ms. Warren, this might be a question for you. What are the plans for utilizing the canteen building? With the planned move of canteen from their warehouse near ACC to the Fremont Furniture Shop, has there been any thought of modifying the building for use as the training academy?
I will say that's the first time I've heard for it utilized as such, but I have been asked a couple of times by CI staff, what are the plans for the current building that we're located in. I think right now what I would say is we're still determining best use of that space. I think we have quite a long road to haul that's already well underway in terms of consolidating canteen into one location, but we're still fulfilling orders in that Fremont location, wanting to make sure canteen operations continues seamlessly. And I think that question will continue to evolve, but it's the first time I've heard of it as an additional training academy space. So noted. Thank you.
Here's another question for you. Has there been any discussion to stop the vaccine requirement for those offenders wanting to work CI, OCA, or Take Two?
I would say no, there's not currently. I think that before the vaccine mandate went into effect, and I can speak to CI and Take Two, and Michelle, if you want to speak to OCA, please jump in. You know, we were already at like an 80 or 90% vaccination rate of the 1,000 folks that work for CI already before the mandate went in. And so I think that I would just echo what the director was saying of remaining nimble, and especially thinking of higher risk folks that are going on and off facility property. That's not something that we're currently considering or revisiting at this time.
And to piggyback off Jessica's comment, it's the same for OCAs. One of the beliefs and the discussions that we've had is that they're caring for some of the critically ill. So to move away from the vaccine could be detrimental. So at this point, we're not moving away from the mandate for OCAs.
Thank you. Are we working on any type of programs for lifelong or long-term offenders? I see there being a real need for some programs for them, for the offenders that are violent or other factors that keep them from getting most jobs and programs. Anything in the works for those offenders?
I mean, I can jump in. I think this is something that is a real priority of mine, and it's something that I hope to do both through CI and potentially Take Two inside the walls. Is something that I'm really proud of, and have spoken to a handful of folks that are life without parole that do work currently for CI. That it is an opportunity for people who have longer sentences that are provided. I think that I will be actively looking at, what new opportunities can become available, especially as we unwind at Sterling and at Ark Valley. It's a big priority of mine. I've said that to the people who will be not able to transfer to different locations where CI jobs are available. And it's something that I've said here amongst this team and my staff. So it's something that is a big priority of mine for sure.
Thank you, Ms. Warren. Mr. Williams, when should we expect to see the booster bonus be paid out?
Well, I hand it over to Deb. I mean, the one that, I thought we'd already been transpired, but Deb?
No, the booster bonus, with the message that Lisa Wiley had sent out to everybody, it will be, you have until May 31st to get the booster. And at that time, we'll have the list for the booster bonuses, and it'll be paid out on a biweekly in June.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. There hasn't been any information released on cost and coverages for benefits this year. This information has been posted prior to open enrollment for the past 25 plus years, and there's nothing on the website.
I'll answer that. So open enrollment starts April 12th, and that's when the messaging and the rates will go out to employees. So and the training will be online. So there's some changes to benefits this year. Keep in mind that it's passive, which means if you're happy with the plan that you're on, you don't need to go back in and re-sign up. But there's some benefits that will be added, and when they do the online training and the training of the new benefits, then staff will be informed of that. I also understand that there will be no cost increase, so that's good news.
That is good news. If staff have never used any of the protected health leave during the pandemic, could those hours get added onto their accruals and or paid out?
No. So the PHEL was specific for COVID. So there is some additional FML hours that are allotted. Those are 80 hours for anything that's a health emergency. So that 80 hours is on top of the benefits that they already receive as far as their sick leave accruals or FML. So that's an additional 80 hours, but that is provided by the state.
Thank you. This question is the department considering increasing vacation accrual rates? I received an email from Cohen's that states They have been pushing for higher rates. What is the department's stance on this? And what are the improvements being considered, if any?
I guess Deb and I can answer this one. So first of all, leave accruals and the amount of leave accruals are all identified and addressed in board rule. There are some, with the partnership with co-ends, the state will request some adjustments to those accrual rates as far as annual leave. Right now, it is my understanding that they're still going through the legislative process, and then because there's a fiscal dollar amount attached to that, so that has to be approved by the legislature. And then once that happens, if it's approved and funded, then of course the board rule will have to change to show those increases in annual accrual rates.
Has there been any discussion about bringing back step raises? And if so, what is the implementation plan?
Again, that's part of the discussions and agreement that WINS has with the state. Those are some things that are being addressed on the state level. I think there's some studies and research going on right now in a sense about compensation, how compensation is looked at, how compensation is applied, and what the market looks like. So again, there was part of the state agreement with WINS is WINS in conjunction with the state are looking at all of those compensation things to come back with a plan to be discussed later this year. And my understanding is some form of steps could be part of that.
I'm going to stick with you here, Rick. There are several library staff that have been with the department for quite some time. They're wondering what the timeline looks like for staff to be offered the reallocation change.
Deb, you want to answer that?
Well, I have to say that I'm not aware of a request for a reallocation change for library staff. So I don't really have anything that I can offer for that.
I can jump in and say that Melissa Smith and I will reach out and provide specific information to library staff on exactly where we're at in that process, because we are looking at that, understanding the low rate of pay and the difficulty retaining librarians.
Thank you, Mr. Hansen. Will the department consider allowing additional staff members to work overtime? And some staff classifications are not approved for overtime, and some of us would like to volunteer for extra hours or shifts to alleviate the strain on our fellow staff members. Staff
We've opened it up pretty broadly.
Okay.
I guess I would ask if the person writing that question is on the call to reach out to me personally so I can understand exactly what you're asking. I know that there has been some requests to work at a higher rate of pay while volunteering for overtime, and that's not something that we can follow through with at this point in time. However, we have opened it up to multiple classifications that traditionally did not get that paid overtime, and maybe Rick can address that more.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Thanks, Matt. So the thing we have to keep in mind under the FLSA and under board rule, that positions that are exempt, which means that they're not eligible for overtime, that there has to be some other means for that compensation. In other words, we can't call it they're working overtime, and they can't be compensated on an hour for hour basis because it will get the department and the state and kind of some liability issues. So there is an incentive discretionary pay process that prison ops and clinical and some other divisions are doing that in a sense make staff eligible to do this, but we don't call it overtime or working overtime. It's a compensation for assisting us through this time.
If staff have questions about that, who do they talk to, Rick? Who would you suggest they go to? Or that person writing that question?
Yeah, they can forward their request to either Matt or myself.
Okay, thank you.
And someone will get them an answer.
Thank you. When will the remaining 800-ish staff that have not been salary adjusted see their pay increase? Not including the 3% across the board that we may see, considering that most management were giving lucrative pay raises on A1 of 21.
I'll start. And
William?
jump in. I'm not sure those other staff were considered they got lucrative pay raises. There were some that did. Here's the problem. Here's how we've approached this problem since the day I got here. This is far from perfect, but the alternative for me was worse. So, as sort of the lesser of the two evils, if you will, or hey, it's kind of like, I know what good, better, and best is. I'm going to choose better versus, good or not at all. So every time, we've got a supplemental where we actually had our budget increase. Keep in mind that the amount of money we get for personnel services or the personnel line is allotted to us, right? So here's how much money you get to pay your staff. And if you're going to make an adjustment up of that, you have to tell us you're going to make an adjustment of it and have to get it approved. I get approved the governor's office, and the legislature has to approve it as well. So the first year we were here, we were able to get a tranche, if you will, of employees, a decent or a notable pay increase with some of the correctional officer 1 series, the lower ones. The year after that we had, and that was a larger month. So we actually got money for that. And Deb, correct me if I'm wrong on any of this going down the line. The second phase was actually money that had been appropriated, but we had a little bit of adjustment so we could kind of get the next level of employees, get another group of employees. Ideally, and things that we have been advocating for strongly, I might add, in terms of all the issues, some of the issues have been brought up about step increases and all those things. Those are things that are being negotiated. I understand what happened when those things went away. That was before I got here some years ago. I think that was an unfortunate decision back in the day. But all the way along, we know that if we're able to help some staff, we weren't going to be able to help everybody. The easier approach one of those people that didn't get helped when we were helping certain classes of employees, right? Because now you're compressing so many of their salaries, and it's a complete nightmare for those of us who are trying to do this right. But in the absence of doing it the best way, if you will, we are left with a decision like, well, can we help where we can, or do we not do anything? And that's a hard decision. Well, of course you can say, well, just help where you can, Williams. And that's kind of what we did. But that's still an uncomfortable decision. I'll tell you why. Is because there are some people we know that we weren't able to help. And I hear from them. And we hear from them. And I don't blame you for feeling that way, I guess, on one hand. But I hope you understand, or at least hear me. Maybe you don't agree, but at least you hear me. That I think our job is to help where we can and do the best that we can with the amount of money that we have in that personnel line, right? Like I can't go and do what I want to do with all employees and not have the money in that line, right? And the reason why is I will be beat down in the JVC. We will lose credibility. They'll take actions, and I'll end up shooting ourselves in the foot, right? So I have to move to speed in terms of a helping pay for one, either money that's been appropriated for it, or two, if we have a little bit left, or we have a little bit of buffer, because every time I give a pay increase, that pay increase goes forward, right? So that's in next year's budget. It's going to go on. It's not a one-time like that happened just recently, like this one-time retention bonus we were able to give, or the vaccine bonus, or that incentive or that pay we got recently, where we are giving more a week for everybody who's working in the facilities. That's one-time money that I was able to push forward. But the longer-term fix, which is one I am for, hear me again, the longer-term fix of increasing pay going forward for some of these other positions is something I advocate for regularly, but I do not have full authority. In fact, I don't have authority on any of it. I mean, in terms of actually approved, I can influence and persuade, I can show data, I can do a lot of things, and we have done those things. But the decision to move forward is not mine alone. There are people in OSPB and other people who are looking at priorities, and then that goes to legislature. So I realize that's not a very satisfying answer on one hand, but and then the best way I can say is it's the honest answer. That's all I can do. Deb, I'm not sure if you want to jump in on anything else.
No, Dean, you covered it really well. Every year we do look at what we can do for staff salaries and put things forward. And we've been successful some years and we've been unsuccessful for some years. So we do look at that every year and hope to, again, this year, probably have something to move forward.
Thank you, Ms. Goheen. Mr. Williams, will there be any plans to reinstate the employee chaplain services?
This is a really good question, and one that has been on my heart a great deal. And so I don't want to get ahead of our planning on this. I can just tell you that I am, we've been having multiple conversations around how do we expand what was in existence before. We've had one chaplain position, which I think is extremely valuable, but I really kind of want more than that. And to be honest with you, I try to figure out how to improve the availability of chaplain services at multiple locations, right? So it's not just one person. We have several people. That wouldn't be one person's assigned to one facility out of that community. And this is one that's been on my heart a lot because, quite frankly, this has been a tough couple of years, and I'm just gonna bust this out because I hope you hear my heart on it. I've been very concerned about staff sort of mental health services, and sometimes all you need, I don't know about all of you, but like me, sometimes I just need somebody to talk to and vent and get something off my chest. And I want to make that easily as possible. I don't want it to be complicated. I want someone safe in the chaplaincy role who's your ear. And you can just talk about things, and this is safe, and it doesn't gonna create a big kerfuffle, and people, you don't have to sign up. And so sometimes maybe you need more than that, right? Like if you have a complicated issue or complicated family issue, you do need more of a professional friend, if you will, to help you walk through trying times. And especially these jobs are hard already, but if you have any personal issues, loss of parents, of a child, of anything, I mean, these are really hard times. So the chaplaincy thing is sort of the first gateway, if you will, of having some safe person to reach out to. So I want to go beyond the one person. And I've been talking with sort of multiple people and entities. So I guess I'm saying stay tuned because I want it to be, I want multiple people in that role that you all get to know that are your person. They don't, maybe it's paid by the department, but the whole goal here is that person doesn't, report to us or anything else. It's a very safe environment. Because you guys, I mean, I'm just going to say this out of great love. I mean, we had a number of suicides last year of our staff that has deeply impacted all of us. And I've gone and spoken at some of those funerals, and it's awful. And a lot of it is the hard pressures that have come over the last couple of years. But I mean, that's I mean, some of it is just the pressures of these jobs in general. Um, I want safe people in our lives to respond to, because believe it or not, in this job, I've had some pretty hard days too. And you know, it's easy to be, you can get discouraged, and we all need people around us that we can go to. And I know we have friends for that, but sometimes you don't want to burden a friend and you need a safe place. And so I believe chaplaincy doesn't solve anything, doesn't solve everything, but it is an important tool for those of us to use to be able to have somebody to talk to and unload a little bit. And then to, maybe you need a consult for somewhere else, but sometimes maybe you just need someone to talk to. So all I can tell you is that I want more than what we had before. And I'm working feverishly, if you will, to make sure we have something put in place over the next few weeks, months.
Mr. Williams, I'm going to come back to you and give you some final thoughts, but I did want to ask Ms. Broder and Dr. Mall this question about, is DLC planning on moving MAT offenders to the monthly Suboxone injections and away from our daily strips, which is putting a strain on medical staff and our CO staff?
I'll go ahead and start that conversation. We are very much aware that there's, first of all, our MAP program is growing. It's been growing since 2019. And we're very much aware that there is a stress in the administration process that we're doing presently. We, however, don't have the data yet to prove whether or not a new form of administration would work within our system. So that is why we are performing a quote unquote pilot in Sterling presently. And we'll follow that with another couple of pilots as well as we move forward into this process. We are certainly very much encouraged by what MAT does for the offender population. And we are certainly moving forward with that initiative. And you're absolutely correct. We are trying to find every possible way that we can efficiently administer medication to those that need it.
Thank you, Dr. Mall. Michelle, did you want to add anything to that?
No, I'm good, thanks. I think he covered it. I will throw one thing out there, though. The funding is a major impact and has a lot to do with our decision on moving forward for the sublocade. So like Dr. Mall says, we're trying to work every angle we can on helping staff and offenders.
Thank you. Mr. Williams, we're running at the top of the hour here. I just wanted to give you some final thoughts and say thank you for always taking your time and joining us, and certainly for working as hard as you guys do and your executive team there. So,
well, thanks, Rebecca, and thanks for continuing to hold these. Yeah, I mean, we do work hard, but I want to be really clear. It's we know who's working hard, and yeah, we work hard, but I go to prisons a lot. I see who's working hard. I see who's standing in the gap. I see who shows up every day to work at a parole office, to work in a facility. Everybody in this department works really hard. There are things that I know that you all don't see that I see that encourage me. I can tell you, sometimes I go through a week. I don't know about the rest of you. Sometimes I go through a week and I go, oh my God, I'm just tired. You just get tired in the week because there's like so many things you want to be better for. There's so many things I want to be better for staff. And part of this whole thing around dynamic security and normalization, I'll repeat for the 29th time, is I want things to be better for the people who are in our custody. True. Yes, true. But I want things to be so much better for the people who work in this department. So you don't go to work and have the anxiety or stress about the safety of your day, right? The reason why we have a hard time attracting people to understand how valuable and important this work is because it comes with certain burdens. And part of the reason of making these places better for the people who live there. So it's so much better for the people who work there. And I feel like I need to remind everybody who within the sound of my voice is that one of the basic cornerstones of the changes we're making is so your job gets better versus just grinding away and doing the same thing over and over again, you guys. I'll give you one example, right? Because sometimes if I get in kind of a funk, if you will, or if I'm in a bad place, all I need to do is go walk to prison, go walk a prison, go meet with real people, with real staff who are working there, or figure out what's happening with their inmate population, see if anything's getting better, and get a read. So last week I was in Buena Vista, and all credit to Warden Legrinch and so many others, and that lieutenant out there whose name I have forgotten now, but she's listening. They have worked on creating a kitchen that there's also a name, which I have forgotten the name of it. Someone can jump in and remind me what the name of the kitchen or the restaurant. So you have your Raider kitchen, right? That's creating Raider meals for everybody during the course of the day. Through the initiative of those staff out there, it's Captain, right? Thank you, Jessica. Captain Peterson, who has spearheaded this, along with other staff and other people who are joined in, and of course the warden and so many others. But this is amazing. So this kitchen for $5 a meal, you get a lot of food. It's very high quality. Two of the inmates who are now working at sort of like leading the different components of it, right? I think there's two. They're getting paid minimum wage. They're leading the other group of inmates. They've taken full responsibility for preparing these meals. They're culinary trained, so they have their game on. And they're producing meals. I was out there last week. The chef salad could have fed like 2 people that I got. I mean, they're making burgers and pizzas. They're making it all made from scratch. They're making desserts. I met the guy who's in charge of the desserts. I mean, they're making like really good, high quality stuff, right? For $5. So it's not just for the inmates who have $5 to spend, but it's for the staff. So staff can grab a $5 meal. It's high quality. It's good eating. They don't have to worry about it. Some of the staff, I'm not calling any harm or foul on this, but some of them end of their shift or whatever, grabbing a meal and taking it home. All right. Like this is amazing. The other amazing thing is that all credit to the warden, excuse me, Jessica, Captain Peterson, etc. They're actually making a little bit of money for future investment too. So it's actually making a little bit of money done well. And when I was there on Friday, they had like their biggest order. They've been only operating a few weeks, but they had their biggest order for dinner that night, which was like 200 meals. And so that is going to make life for those staff there so much nicer, right? Because instead of worrying about bringing your own meals, you get $5. I mean, what I was looking at for $5, I mean, this is a killer deal. And they're still making money out of it. I mean, so we're charging $5 for everybody. And a whole bunch of the inmates who now have money or are working more of these jobs. And mention these 2 guys who are working minimum wage. So I was so encouraged when I saw that, because you know why? Because Captain Peterson and the staff that were working with her on this, because the inmate population, BC, thank you, Jessica, for Clifford Gilliard, who is also they're all working, a whole bunch of great leadership came together. And that captain and others were just persistent, in spite of us trying to get through a whole bunch of bureaucratic roadblocks, which I'll spare you the details. But I can tell you that I was afraid that this thing was going to go by the wayside, because like, oh my God, we got to fight this fight. But everybody's just like, nope, we're just going to stand right here. We're going to keep pushing this. We're going to keep going for it. And it's amazing. And so it becomes the model of where else this could potentially be done in other prisons, like where staff can get a really decent meal for $5. So as they get their stuff together, I know there's some other wardens who said, hey, what about us? And you guys, that's like everything, right? I mean, that's like real life change for the staff to be able to get a decent meal for $5. And oh, by the way, I'm encouraging them, like, hey, now they kind of have their own little separate kitchen and sitting area. Like, go sit down and have a meal with some of the inmates who bought their $5 meals, if you can. I mean, maybe I realize sometimes you have to get back to your post and all those things. But that's a game changer. And I just want to, I guess, encourage you, because sometimes I need it a lot. I need it every day too, that there really is some amazing stuff that we're doing that nobody else is pushing it like we are. I'll just be honest with you. It's not because it's because I have great people around me who I've just like given permission, and then they go do the real work. Like, can you figure out how to do this? So when this idea first came up to us, I think it was out there a year ago in between one of the surges when I got there. And then Captain Peterson was like, I have this idea, this vision. I'm like, oh man, it's going to take so much for you to get this going. And I was out there on Friday, and it's just amazing. Amazing. And I don't know about you, but man, that's encouraging to me. Doesn't fix all of our problems, you guys. But it goes back to curse the darkness or light a candle. And I think we just have to figure out where to light a candle. And I'll try to remember that too sometimes, because a lot of times I just want to curse the darkness too. But I think we light a candle instead. And Captain Peterson and all the staff out there, they lit a candle. And that place is going to be changed because of this kitchen. It's changing already. I mean, I can hear it in the staff's voices. I can hear it in the inmates' voices. They're like, hey, we know this is about making quality food. And this guy who's getting paid minimum wage, because I go back to the unit, and like all these guys, all the other inmates are talking to me about the meal, how great the meal was, and I could do that better next time. And so they're all talking about it, and he's leading. We want everyone to lead, right? I can help make this better. And so I'm so proud of that effort. I had nothing to do with it other than to say, yes, just try. But I'm so proud of what everybody else has done on that. And I guess I'll leave you on that note. That's the good stuff, folks. That really is the good stuff. So God
What a
bless you.
great way to end this live chat.
Yeah, be safe out there. Be careful.
All right. Take care, everyone. Thanks a lot for joining us. Till next time. Mr. Williams, executive team, thank you very much.
Take care.
Bye.